Seeking is also home to Eureka Science and Discovery, the new visitor attraction designed for children and young people up to 14 years. There's been a ferry across the Mersey for more than 800 years, providing a link between Liverpool and the Wirral shorelines. Here ahead, our starting point takes its name from the long stone pier which once jutted out into the river from the shore next to the Sailors' Church, the Church of Our Lady and St Nicholas. You can see the church at the back and to the left of the library building, with a golden square with a ship on its lantern-topped tower.
The modern 350-metre terminal on your right is Liverpool's cruise liner berth. Cruise lines, including Cunard, Norwegian Cruise Line, Costa Cruises, Celebrity, Disney, Princess and Viking Cruises, sail into the city year-round.
In all, 7 miles of docks and 23 miles of quays stretch along the Liverpool foreshore. In 1710, the Corporation of Liverpool started work on the world's first commercial wet dock, and by the end of the century, the city boasted a full dock system. Steam had revolutionised shipping, and this, combined with the Industrial Revolution and the opening up of the Americas, secured Liverpool's future as a trading city and a major port.
Unique character has been influenced by a diverse mix of races and nationalities, and this has produced a population characterised by its vitality, resilience and extreme sense of humour. The city is also home to the oldest black and Chinese communities in Britain. Liverpool had financially prospered from trade with the British West Indies and the American colonies during the 18th century. A latecomer to the transatlantic trade of cheap material goods to Africa, enslaved Africans to the sugarcane plantations in the West Indies, and sugar, rum and tobacco home to England, Liverpool nevertheless came to dominate transatlantic slavery until its abolition in 1807. Some enslaved Africans were sold to Liverpool elites, mainly for domestic service, and you can find out much more about Liverpool's role in transatlantic slavery at the International Slavery Museum at the Royal Albert Dock. The growth of the United States of America provided Liverpool with growing volumes of trade, and new docks opened on the Mersey in quick succession during the 1800s. The city was described as the gateway to the British Empire and the door to the New World. A significant Irish presence has existed in the city for several centuries. In 1841, an estimated 49,000 Irish people lived in the city, and in the following years during the Great Famine, over 1.5 million people crossed the Irish Sea, many of whom then left for the United States of America and Canada, but many stayed, and their presence changed the character of the city forever. Up to the 19th century, Liverpudlians spoke in the same way as their Lancashire neighbours, but the impact of Irish migration to the city gave the city its unique accent. Today, an estimated 75% of Liverpool's population can trace their heritage to Ireland. You can find more information on this at the Museum of Liverpool. In search of a better life. Before steamships were introduced, these journeys were extremely hazardous. To sail to America would take 35 days, and the trip to Australia lasted from 10 to 17 weeks depending on wind and weather. The ships were crowded, and conditions encouraged the spread of diseases such as cholera. By the late 1800s, over 200 ships a week would leave Liverpool and travel all across the world. Liverpool then was the most important port outside London.
On the dock wall, you can see the Victorian hexagonal Salisbury dock clock tower, designed by Jesse Hartley, who was responsible for much of Liverpool's Dockland architecture, including the Royal Albert Dock. The clock's chief use was to check the ship's chronometer as the vessel left port, and was affectionately known as the Docker's Clock. It has 6 faces that can be seen from all points of the compass. The only other one of its kind is in Russia. This is also the original site of the entrance to the Leeds-Liverpool Canal from the river. Although now the pierhead extension is finished, the canal extends through to the Royal Albert Dock. We now see the massive red brick building, which is the Stanley Tobacco Warehouse. When built in 1900, it was the world's biggest bonded warehouse, large enough to fit St George's Hall inside. It was built using 27 million bricks, specifically for storing tobacco cargoes until duty was paid, and it is still the largest brick-built building in the world. The next dock downriver is the Nelson Dock, and then we have the Bramley Moor Dock, which in the future will be the new home of Everton Football Club. The new stadium, at an estimated cost of £760 million, is due to open for the start of the 2025-26 Premier League season, replacing Goodison Park, the club's home since 1892. Bramley Moor Dock, opened in 1848, was also designed by Jesse Hartley and primarily used as a coal dock. The dock was in use for 140 years, but as coal-fired steamships fell out of use and the coal mines in South Lancashire closed, demand for coal disappeared, and Bramley Moor Dock was eventually closed in 1988.
The large wind turbines that you can see provide the power to the Royal Seaport Dock, which is the prime container terminal for North America. Approximately 70% of the Northwest Freight runs from Liverpool. Completed in 2016 and adjacent to the dock is Liverpool 2, a new deep-water container terminal capable of handling 2 post-Panamax vessels simultaneously, and able to handle 95% of all vessels that sail the seas. This doubles the container handling capacity of Liverpool. The large group of trees along the Lower foreshore opposite is Vale Park, and it was near here where the famous gunpowder magazine stood. This is where the ships used to stop to offload or pick up gunpowder on their way into or from port. Storing explosives in the docks themselves seems far too big a risk.
During the 18th and early 19th century, smuggling was rife throughout Britain. This area, Wallasey, was perfect for smugglers, because 300 years ago it was cut off from the rest of the world by the Wallasey Pool on one side and the swamp of Bidston Moss on the other. It was an isolated, dangerous place, prone to sudden mists and quicksand, and best negotiated only by the few who knew it well. One of the most notorious smugglers here was known as Mother Redcap, who ran an inn which stood by the shore.
The impressive building with the huge staircase is Wallasey Town Hall. The building was actually built back to front, so that the front could face the river. To the left of the town hall, and behind the trees, is a red brick building with a glass conservatory. This is Guinea Gap Baths, opened in 1908. Some say that the name comes from a bag of guineas once found washed up on the shore here. Originally, the water used to fill the pools was seawater taken from the River Mersey unfiltered. It obviously had an unusual quality because between 1908 and 1957, 205 national, European and world records were broken here.
The tall square tower, looking something like a giant stereo, is the Kingsway Road Tall Ventilation Tower. Its twin is on the Liverpool side of the river. approach Seacombe, look out for the large bell at the landing stage, used before radar as the only guide for the ferry in fog. In fact, radar was installed in 1947 and was the first in the world to guide ferries. Seacombe Ferry Terminal has undergone a major reconstruction, including the replacement of its Victorian link-span bridges and refurbishment of the landing stage and terminal building. Seacombe is also home to Eureka Science and Discovery, a new visitor attraction designed for children and young people up to 14 years. Visit to discover how science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics influence and shape our lives, connecting the everyday with the extraordinary. Visit eurekadiscovery.org.uk for information and opening times. All visits must be booked in advance.
This is Seacombe Terminal. Please leave here for Seacombe and New Brighton. This is Seacombe. Much criticism, with predictions that the first storms of winter would carry the landing stages away. Nevertheless, as you can see, this idea has stood the test of time, and is still the most convenient way of getting passengers on and off the ferry. Over the years, the Mersey ferries have not only provided transport for visitors and the people of Merseyside, they have also played their part during both World Wars. In the First World War, two of the Mersey ferries, the Iris and the Daffodil, were commandeered by the government and used as landing craft for the Royal Marines in a daring raid to neutralise the port of River on the 23rd of April 1918. Both of the ferries were badly damaged by artillery and machine gun fire, but managed to escape and limp back to Dover. Because of their work, King George V allowed the vessels to use the word Royal in their name, and after extensive refitting, they resumed their peacetime activities as the Royal Daffodil and the Royal Iris.
You can now see the roll-off ferry terminal called 12 Quays, connecting the Wirral with Belfast. It is along this stretch of shoreline where the famous 1 o'clock gun still stands. A cannon was fired from here at 1 o'clock every afternoon, except Sundays and bank holidays, and was used by the ships to check their chronometers. This event finally stopped on the 18th of July, 1969.
Even before the Mersey boom of the early 1960s, Liverpool had a reputation for a lively, popular music scene. As a thriving port, this city was a hub for entertainment and leisure, and the Mersey ferries played a significant role in that tradition. From its arrival in 1951, the Royal Iris was popularly known as the fishing shipboat, with a pool served on board during its dance cruises. In 1957, the Cabin Club began promoting its legendary riverboat shuffles. These were 4-hour dance cruises up and down the river. The Beatles played 4 times on the Royal Iris between 1961 and 1962. During this time, they changed their manager to Brian Epstein, ditched their leathers for smart suits, shirts and ties, and for their final show, they had replaced their drummer Pete Best with Ringo. Many bands played on the Royal Iris over the years, including Jerry and the Pacemakers, The Searchers, Ackerbill, The Farm, and Elvis Costello. If you're interested in finding out more about the Beatles, you can visit the award-winning attraction, The Beatles Story, which is based at the Royal Albert Dock. The attraction takes visitors on an immersive journey through the lives, times, culture and music of the Beatles, and contains an impressive collection of fascinating memorabilia. For more information, or to buy tickets in advance, please visit the Beatles Story website. The tall square brick tower close to the river is the ventilation shaft and pumping station for the Queensway Road-Tunnel, one of 6 ventilation stations used to maintain fresh air within the tunnels at all times. It took 9 years to build Queensway, and it was opened in 1934 by King George V and Queen Mary. Far down below us now are the road and rail tunnels which cross under the River Mersey. You can take a behind-the-scenes walking tour of Mersey tunnels and discover one of Liverpool's hidden gems. For more information, visit Mersey Tunnel Tours webpage online.
Of the elegant Victorian architecture built during Birkenhead's heyday. Birkenhead was the first town in Europe to operate a dedicated passenger tramway, and the first ever public park was built here, an idea of William Laird, a famous shipbuilder. It was paid for by the council and designed by Joseph Paxton, a famous designer of the Crystal Palace that featured in the Great Exhibition of 1851. The park, officially opened in 1847, offered opportunities for recreation to all Birkenhead residents with the formation of a number of park-based clubs. Paxton's design was later copied on a much grander scale by an American named Olmsted, who co-designed New York's Central Park. The clock tower with the green dome is Birkenhead Town Hall, which stands in the elegant Hamilton Square, one of the finest Victorian squares in Britain, and which, apart from Trafalgar Square, has the most Grade 1 listed buildings in one place in Britain.
Tall steel spire of St Mary's Church. This marks the site of the old Liverpool Drive, where the very first ferry service began. In front of the church is a seaport built in 1840 called Monk's Ferry, and this is the spot where the monks would begin the mile-long journey across to Liverpool. On the other side of the seaport are the dry docks and slipways of Camel Lerd, famous for owning many great ships such as the Ark Royal, the Second Mauritania, and even some of the Mersey ferries. The first ship built was launched in 1829, and over 1,300 ships have been built here. The construction hall that you can see is one of the largest in Europe, and in recent years has seen a number of major fabrication projects, including the building of the flight decks, the new HMS Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier. In April 2014, the British government authorised the procurement by the British Antarctic Survey of a Royal Research ship at an estimated cost of £200 million. In 2015, Camel Lerd won the construction contract, and it was the largest commercial shipbuilding project in the country in 30 years. Commissioned by the Natural Environment Research Council and operated by British Antarctic Survey, the new polar ship, the RRS Sir David Attenborough, will transform UK research in the polar regions, providing scientists with state-of-the-art facilities to research the oceans, seafloor, ice and atmosphere. Its missions are critical for understanding and making sense of our changing climate. In 2023, Mersey Ferries signed a contract with Camel Lerd to produce a new boat, the first in more than 60 years. The new boat, due to arrive in the water in summer 2026, will be built locally in the Birkenhead shipyard, providing apprenticeships and training opportunities for the next generation of the ferries team.
As well as 6,000 tons of cargo. She had an amazing history. She laid the first Atlantic telephone cable, killed her first captain, and had 4 mutinies. She had 5 funnels, and her 6 masts were named after the days of the week, Monday to Saturday. The 4th mast, Thursday, became the flagpole of Liverpool Football Club at Anfield. Even as she was being broken off, she held us surprise. The skeleton of a worker was found who must have been trapped in her hull when she was being built.
The long piers with the big gantry cranes on the river are part of the Tranmere oil terminal, which can handle tankers weighing up to 300,000 tonnes. More than 10 million tonnes of oil are discharged here every year and then pumped 10 miles upriver to the oil refinery at Stanbrook, the second largest refinery in England. We are now off Rock Ferry, which from the early 1820s became a popular residential area for Liverpool businessmen who took advantage of the ferry services to move home to the Wirral. Many made their homes in the newly built prestigious houses in the privately owned Rock Park, fronting the river. As the century progressed, an esplanade was built, linking Rock Ferry to New Ferry, and the area developed into a day tripper resort. The American novelist and short story writer Nathaniel Hawthorne lived at Rock Park for 4 years during the 1850s, whilst working as the American consul in Liverpool. An extract from his diary reads, "At Rock Ferry, there was a great throng forming a scene not unlike the 4th of July. There were bands of music and ballets, and a small procession after them, and a school of charity children enjoying the festival. And there was a club of respectable persons playing at bowls on the bowling green of the hotel. And there were children and infants riding on the donkeys at a penny a ride." The hotel to which Hawthorne refers is the Royal Rock, a popular destination for ferry passengers who took a trip to Rock Ferry to enjoy a drink, a game of bowls, or a walk on the esplanade. In the late 1930s, a layer of mud began to wash over the sandy beach, and in 1939, the ferry service was discontinued. The area gradually deteriorated, and the old pier was replaced by a jetty connected with the Tranmere oil terminal, parts of which can still be seen. Eventually, the Royal Rock Hotel was demolished.
Further ahead, the eastern locks into the Manchester ship canal. Manchester, city built at the centre of the North's Industrial Revolution, was provided with a vital passage to the rest of the world when the canal was opened in 1894. It carried imports of raw cotton to the heart of the Lancashire cotton industry, some 35 miles away. By 1955, the canal was carrying over 18 billion tonnes of goods every year. Amongst the many ships that use the canal now are the Mersey ferries, operating day trips from Liverpool and Wirral to Warrington and back. The cruise gives passengers the opportunity to experience a round trip in the same day. Cruises operate on selected dates during the summer months. Please check the Mersey Ferries website for details.
If you look over towards Liverpool, you get a fine view of Liverpool's two cathedrals and the Museum of Liverpool. The museum is the largest newly built national museum in the UK for over 100 years. The story of Liverpool is told through displays drawn from exhibits related to the city from National Museum Liverpool's entire collection. Visitors can explore how the port, its people, and their creative and sporting history have shaped the city. The red sandstone Anglican Cathedral, designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott when he was only 23, took 74 years to build and is the largest Anglican cathedral in the world. To the left, the delicate spires of the Metropolitan Catholic Cathedral of Christ the King top an enormous and beautiful stained glass lantern, which during the day projects a vivid display of light radiating throughout its interior.
On the river, ships are guided by the red and green buoys which mark the deep water channel. These buoys follow the International Maritime System. Red is kept on the left or port, and green on the right or starboard. Unlike British car drivers, ships navigate on the right. The black and yellow buoy warns against the Buckington sandbank, which stretches right below the water as far as Pierhead landing stage. Sandbanks, strong currents and fog all plague the Mersey and make it a very treacherous river. The Liverpool Liverpool's South Docks stretching in front of us are no longer used as commercial docks, but were once a forest of masts filled with ships from all corners of the world, including those of the Elder Dempster line, known as the monkey boats, because they carried monkeys instead of ships' cats.
As we proceed across the river back to Liverpool, the stunning vista of the waterfront takes your breath away. We now attract many millions of tourists to the city, within which beats a heart alive with musicians, poets, writers, artists, painters, sculptors, designers and architects. Liverpool was European Capital of Culture for 2008 and continues to have a thrilling renaissance. There has also been a dramatic transformation in the River Mersey itself. It has recovered from being one of the most polluted rivers in Europe in the 1980s to become a haven for fish and wildlife and a focus for regeneration along the waterfront.
Liverpool is synonymous with popular culture, especially music, sports and arts. It's home to 5 theatres, including the Liverpool Playhouse, Britain's oldest repertory theatre. It is also the home of Aintree Racecourse, famous for the world's greatest steeplechase, the Grand National. And in recent years, the city has become popular with film companies looking for dramatic buildings and locations. Not surprising, because Liverpool contains more than 2,500 listed buildings, more than any city apart from London. It has more public sculptures than any UK city aside from Westminster. And it has more Georgian buildings than Bath.
Looking to the waterside, this is the King's Dock area, with its 10,600 capacity arena and conference centre. It accommodates events from rock and pop concerts to ice shows and international sporting events. To the left of the arena is the Albert Dock, the largest set of Grade 1 listed buildings in Britain. In 2018, it was granted the prestigious title Royal Albert Dock, in recognition of the pivotal role that it played in starting a resurgence of interest in Liverpool's wonderful architecture. Threatened with demolition for years, it was restored in the 1980s, and the Royal Albert Dock has become one of the country's favourite tourist attractions. To the left are the beautiful buildings known as the Three Graces, which together form one of the most majestic and famous waterfronts in the world. On the right is the Port of Liverpool building with its impressive copper dome. Opened in 1908, the design came from a rejected competition entry for the Anglican Cathedral. In the middle stands the Cunard building. Built in 1914, the building was designed in the style of a 16th century Italian palace and was once the offices of the famous shipping line owned by Samuel Cunard, who operated the first regular transatlantic lines between Liverpool and New York in 1840. Other famous shipping companies followed, such as the White Star Line, owner of the Titanic, and the Blue Star Line. Their magnificent liners berthed along the famous Prince's Landing Stage, which was for many years the longest floating landing stage in the world. It was from here that over 9 million emigrants passed through Liverpool between 1830 and 1890 on their way to a new life in America.
Finally, the beautiful Liver Building, erected by the Royal Liver Friendly Society in 1911, is perhaps Liverpool's best-known landmark. Based on the Chicago waterfront skyscraper, the building is topped by the famous liver birds, which stand nearly 6 meters high. They're said to be based on an eagle, which was the original seal of King John. However, when the seal was lost in the 18th century, the artist commissioned to design the new seal misinterpreted the eagle as a cormorant, hence their rather unusual appearance. Some say that the female liver bird faces the river waiting for the sailors to come ashore, while the male is looking inland to see if the pubs are open.